So that's the thing. Basically, the guy then telling me, I want the money. No, you don't want the money. You want the resources attached to the money. Money is simply the means for that to happen and keep it stable. We have made money a resource in itself, and that's when things got bad. Because now you need to have money, when in fact you don't. You need to have the resources. So if you and I decide to produce resources for the benefit of all, and we all produce resources for the benefit of all, money only buys, basically I'm going to make my apples even when I don't really feel like it. However, I have access to resources that are always available in the first place. Dumb. That's the way it comes down to. Money is the problem. In that sense, it's not a resource. It's a representation.
The value that we give to money in and of itself is the problem.
Yeah, financially that's the problem, because we're giving money an actual value. When in fact, there are things that don't have a financial value. Shelter doesn't have a financial value. The work that it takes to build it has a financial value, but the actual shelter, per se, it's a right. Otherwise, we go back to, if you can survive, you can survive. If not, you're fucked.
Right.
But if we work as a society, then shelter, it means that I look after you, you look after me. Shelter is a given, because otherwise we can't function. Food, and I'm not talking about, cakes. I'm talking about food, nutritious food. It's a right. As a society, that is a right.
I mean, for Christ's sake, they used to grow everywhere on the goddamn planet.
Exactly. The point is that you need food, not because you're a good person. You need food because you're alive. So if we look after each other, number two, you need food, water, health. You need a doctor, not because you have insurance. You need the best possible available cures because you're alive, and therefore you deserve that. And if we look after each other, that's what we do. Well, you're gonna come to my house, go like, hey Diego, I'm losing blood out of my veins. I'm like, oh, what, you have $10? Sorry, man.
Right.
No, you do the best possible thing I got. I got a towel. Free of charge. Because you need to stay alive. And finally, you need education. Because without education, you are incapable of fixing or doing anything.
Okay, you can't produce.
Yeah.
Therefore, you're useless. You have to be helping everybody.
Exactly. You can't help yourself either.
Yeah. You have to do your part in order to maintain yourself and others.
Yeah, exactly. And not to mention that without the education starts with don't piss when you drink. You piss here, you drink here. That's first rule number one, because the other way to learn it is dying. So that doesn't work much. So education, and then if you take it to a higher level of education, the more you learn, the more your brain is actually expanding beyond your perception. So you're living multiple lifetimes simultaneously. I don't have to think just for myself. I know what you're thinking because I actually have learned it. I know, so I can connect with you. It becomes actually very spiritual. I understand that the dog is capable of thinking like me. I'm not going to do the bad things to the dog because I know the dog can think like me. And I know how the dog can be useful. A mosquito that I hate, that mosquito. I hate the mosquito. However, the mosquito serves a purpose. My personal point of view, I hate the mosquito. But when it comes to actually understanding, I know that the mosquito is fundamental for a big system. So my whole understanding of the mosquito will change because I have the education. So you have at that point shelter, food, water, health, education, in whichever order. These 5 things, they are not based on money. They are based on you deserve it because you were born.
Right.
And unless you prove to be evil, in the sense that, well, I'm not even going to go there, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Unless you prove that evil, and therefore you're no longer part of the system, and we have to separate you from the system because of your choices. You deserve those things to begin with. You don't deserve a Ferrari. However, we can make a Ferrari for you, but you don't need to own it. You want to drive a Ferrari today? Drive a Ferrari. Then give it back. The other guy's gonna drive it tomorrow. It's like going on a vacation. Luxury is nothing more than a vacation. You don't need to live in a fucking castle. You need a castle because inside the castle you do things. You have 16 rooms and so many bathrooms, kitchens, and whatever. Great, make something of it. Why do you need to have 4 people living in a fucking mansion? Stupid. But if the mansion becomes, you make food, you have a school, you have a business, and then you have your quarters, which need to be comfortable. You don't have to be cramped. Don't get me wrong.
No, absolutely. I mean, here's a thought process. I remember getting lost at a friend's house, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I'm at this guy's house and I'm lost because he sent me to the bathroom and then I can't find my way back. His place is so fucking big. It's somewhere in Orange County, California, right? Like, the guy had a trampoline pool, like the works.
Yeah.
I spent 30 minutes of my fucking life wasted walking around this fucking place. Now, let's say that you live there. You literally are walking from point A to point B every day to do basic like function that you could do in a smaller way. Literally, you're wasting time walking. A bigger room for no reason, where you could have, something nice, comfortable, but literally over time, let's say you lived there for 20 years, you might have wasted a good month of your life walking from room to room where somebody else didn't. They saved a month of their life and did more productive shit
actually, that's
instead
true.
of walking around the goddamn bad shit,
That's true, because you're consuming space that maybe belong to the fucking squirrel. There should be a tree with a squirrel. That's the thing.
And why the fuck not, right? I
Why the
mean,
fuck
like,
not?
trees actually produce out of being there.
Yeah, precisely.
Thank you, oxygen.
Precisely. How much will it cost to produce the oxygen we need? They do it for free. A tree costs...
I mean, that's the natural system. They produce because they're part of the system.
Exactly. We
And the
breathe
squirrel
the-
does its job.
Yeah, it does its job. I saw squirrels actually arguing, literally, like Ice Age, the little squirrel thing in Ice Age.
Right.
The other day I had a much fun watching this fucking squirrel actually acting that way with a nut. I've never seen one actually going nuts after a nut because he couldn't catch it.
I guess it's a thing.
I don't know. So anyways, that is basically the ultimate point is that any civilization that doesn't function with that base is ultimately a failed civilization. Which brings me to believe that the whole civilization is failed because nowhere on this planet that I know of they have that mindset. Nowhere. You need those 5 things. Otherwise, you know what? Let's go back to the jungle. Let's kill each other. Let's survive if we can. If not, we're fucked. But that's not the point. The point of civilization is that together we create the conditions for each one of us to thrive. And by doing it intelligently, like the pool, how many people have a pool in their homes? But how many people actually even swim in the pool?
Dude, I lived in my last apartment complex. Save the ghetto-ness of it, right? I never used the pool. Like,
That's what I'm saying.
Seriously, I've stayed with people, and I love pools. When I was a kid, I loved to go to the pool. I loved swimming.
Yeah.
Yet, anytime I had a pool like readily available, I barely fucking used it.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So, how many pools per citizen do you need? And again, you don't have to think, Soviet, that you have 1,600 people for one lane. You can think in a much more comfortable way, we can do it. But people don't need pools like that. It's water, it's resources, it's land. Like they have the problem at Susanna's when they have the bears coming out, right?
Yeah.
Right, no fucking shit, you're building homes inside a reserve. So of course you're gonna have, where are they supposed to go? Where are the bears supposed to go? Build homes somewhere else. Build homes somewhere else. That brings it to overpopulation. Yes, we should control population because there is a thing that we have changed. Nature makes you have 9, 12 kids, kills 6. The other ones die before reproduction, and 3 or 4 actually get to reproductive age. So the population stays stable. In this day and age, we are capable of having just as many kids. However, we are also capable of not
Keeping them all alive.
keeping them all alive. Now you go in 50 years, you go from literally over twice the population you had 50 years ago. We can't do it. It is unintelligent that there is some control. And again, we don't have to think in the wrong way.
Right.
It's very easy. The line between right and wrong is very simple. Right is right. Wrong is wrong with the mask of right. So they put the mask of the right and do wrong with the same exact name, so it's difficult to tell. But the thing is that it is unintelligent that pretty much you must keep the population to a certain point which is sustainable. And if you look at it, I don't remember the exact numbers, but there is actually an exact ratio to keep the population where it needs to be. And the human population, with our lifestyle-ish, a little bit less deconstructed, but our lifestyle can easily maintain 3.5 billion people on this planet and keep the planet in one piece. It's not that hard to do. That means that pretty much you have an average of 2 kids per couple.
I mean, realistically, how do you control population? Don't fuck. Use a goddamn condom. You actually make the choice. I want to have as many kids. No, realistically, A, take some personal responsibility.
Yeah.
B, I've had some experience as a parent. It takes effort It takes conscious awareness to pay attention to how truly make a new human experience the best they can possibly be. Making them thrive, making them learn out of everything. So you have to take out even the emotional response that you would have. What is the best thing to make the kid understand, rather than I'm pissed because I've had a horrible fucking day and the kid's screaming. Yeah, how many people are fucking that up? And now let's say that you had a horrible fucking day and you fucked that up once. Because let's suppose the parents are human, for Christ's fucking sake too. And let's say that for one time they actually yell at their fucking kid because he's screaming, and he's screaming because he's hungry, but they're just fucking yelling because they're pissed. Let's say that happened. Let's say you have 12 kids and now you multiply that. Holy fucking shit. Now how much more stress are you adding to yourself? And how much quality parenting are you doing?
Exactly, because that one screaming is going to resonate with the kid for the rest of the kid's life. You don't know which fuck up that you do as a parent will transform the kid.
Yeah, realistically.
And it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It's normal.
No, but there's no parent training book last night. There's bullshit about it, but it's an experience until you've done it, and then every human being is different.
Yeah, in reality, with my past as a pedagogist, I'm telling you, there is no real way to be sure that you're doing the right job with a guy until the guy's an adult. So only when the guy's an adult, you know if you've done the right job. Otherwise...
Yeah, because then he's making his own choices. And
because the software inside the guy is not necessarily... the body comes out of you, but the software is completely independent from you. So you never know, in the best case scenario, if you're interacting with the right software. So you may be putting in the wrong language from the wrong software. So you never know. There are things that are more easily avoidable or easily choosable.
And things like that are quite obvious. Take, overly, quote-unquote, religious parents upon gay kids.
There you go.
Obviously, the natural life choice of the human being likes the same sex. Hey, who the fuck cares? But aside of all that, obviously the input software, or it should be this way. You should there's no Adam and Steve, blah blah bullshit. Obviously that the input is wrong. So why aren't you aware enough to take a step back and be like, is really me angrily pounding my own beliefs into this new human being the best possible thing for the human being that it naturally craves other things?
Yeah.
The awareness,
Exactly. And so basically, the answer to ultimately, in a not so long run, the answer to population control, it lies into responsibility in actually producing the kid.
Right.
But socially, the answer is actually in the education of the person prior to having a kid. Anybody. If you give a person reasons to evolve as a human being, as a personal human being, that person will tend to want to spend more time becoming a better human being prior to becoming a parent. In other words, simply put, the more education, the more opportunities an individual has, the less kids they have. However, the quality of the person and eventually the quality of the kid will actually improve.
And it should be exponential, realistically.
It is exponential. You're right. Imagine that your parent being, say that I'm 38 right now, right?
Right.
Of course, I have 38 years of maturity. No, I think that I'm fairly well developed for my age.
Sure.
Okay. From pretty much all perspectives, I'm fairly mature.
You have 3 fucking degrees. Speak 7 languages.
There's education, but overall, I'm okay for 38 years old.
Yeah, but there's a value to putting yourself through education too.
True.
Regardless.
True. Oh, of course, that's part two. That's part of it too. For what it matters, we want to quote the 4 black belts. We want to. I spend time doing things. If I had a kid tomorrow, I'm going to be a much better parent than could have possibly been when I was 25. When a lot of little psychological things were still there, a lot of questions were still there, a lot of ignorance was still there, that now it's not. So feasibly, I have heard, and I'm not going to quote the source right now, you know the source though, I have heard some people suggesting men not to have children prior to the age of 40. As I'm approaching that age, I actually understand why. The average lifespan is approximately 70 years old.
Right.
Right? Pretty much in average. So you can reasonably expect smoking like us, maybe not, but you can reasonably expect to live until 70. So you have a kid when you're 40. You took care of your education, you took care of your career, you took care of your psychological bullshit. Right. You are prepared.
You're a fully developed person.
Precisely.
In all ways.
Exactly. Now you have a child. Your attention is going to go straight into the child, and you will be strong enough to adapt to the child rather than force the child to adapt to you. Number one. Plus, you're going to have resources, mental and physical, to take care of the child. Instead of working 15 hours to get by, maybe at this point you may be able to work 8 hours to get by one job, and then you have time for the kid. And you're going to be less likely to just...
Obviously, we're talking a day, 8 hours.
8 hours a day, yes.
Yeah.
8 hours a year.
That'd be awesome.
Well, actually, it'd be boring. I have to work, do something.
Well, I mean, do something.
Exactly. Anyways, that goes on, and it goes on and on. By the time that you are approaching the line, the 70 years old, the kid that you had at 40 starts being close to 30. Now, 70 years old, you kick the bucket as a happy man with a happy kid, and the happy kid that is now 30 inherits the wealth that you have created in your time. So at 30, he's ready to start his own life, being financially strong, on top of being well prepared in his teenage.
And there's possibly something to be said for the death of parents.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's some people that never grow out of their own shell until they're finally able to detach from the idea that their parent is still the provider or the main figure. Now they have to inherit, and that this process will technically kind of force that.
Yeah,
although, kind of arguably, I could say that we should make people mature faster, so you could technically enjoy some more time with your kid, because realistically, 37, it kind of sucks.
Well, 37, it kind of sucks, but to a degree, because
36, because realistically, a fully developed, at 30, you have a fully developed man and or woman, you can really say.
Yes.
Because at 20s, I could say there's still a lot of, you're learning adulthood. Up to your 20s, you went through adolescence, and you went through a lot of schooling, and you went through a lot of prescribed programs through societally speaking. For the most part, most people go to school.
Yeah,
for most of that part.
However, if you want to look at it, a lot of the reason why that is so long, takes so long, is because it's watered down to crawl.
Well, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I remember my girlfriend was looking at my school in Florence used to do these, we call them libroni, which are these huge books.
Yeah.
That pretty much had all the work collected that I've done in the year.
Uh-huh.
The year.
Yeah.
And she was like, this is math that I started in high school.
That's what I'm saying.
They're my elementary school books.
Yeah.
Elementary.
Yeah. That was
I was at the geometry I was doing at fucking what is it, 9th grade. The same geometry I was learning in elementary school.
Yeah.
Because
at the time they had the point is that you need to be good. They raised the bar, then lower the bar.
Right.
That's a different story. I'm like, let's give a check to anybody that gets A's in math. So at this point, the state is gonna be like, well, raise the bar, and all the moms that now bitch about, my kid has an F, is gonna bitch at the kid. Why don't you have an A? Now the kid is gonna have to put themselves to get an A. Now the importance is not even the A per se. The importance is that now the kid has something to work towards.
Right.
You know that a person matures by challenging himself, chiseling the stone, right?
Right.
Finding the weaknesses. I'm tired. I want him. Without violating the kid, which is excessiveness, which is wrong. But without violating a kid, it is the effort that builds the character. We do Kung Fu. You remember those times that we went to the dojo, tired and sick, and we just went there, barely able to stand, and we're still there. That created the capacity today to do what we do. We have that focus, that strength. That's how you do it. You want to be a bodybuilder, or you can be a pussy bodybuilder and lifting weights. Or you can be a real bodybuilder and actually challenge your muscles within reason to the point in which your muscles gets to grow. It's the same thing with education, right? However, yes, there is no. I'm not saying that a parent should die at 70. I'm just calculating. If there is a way for lifespan to become longer,
I'm just saying that 40 maybe 35, maybe a more approachable age, possibly even 30s.
I don't want to put a line.
Obviously, I don't want to put a line. I'm just saying,
But the point is that it makes sense to the fact that when you have a person that has a child when they're ready, and women are ready much faster, by the way, and it's not just biological. Women are ready to be moms a lot sooner than ready to be.
Well, it is actually biologically hormonal. They have an instinct for motherhood that actually starts sprouting. Quote unquote baby fever. Mm-hmm. We make a lot of big fucking jokes about it, but it's a really it's a natural nurturing instinct.
And even you had it, because even as guys we get it later, but we get it. So we know exactly what it feels like. And a woman has a tendency. No, I'm not saying all women. I'm not generalizing, but it is more likely to happen for a woman earlier, and the way they develop, they are much more. It actually helps the average woman. It's at some point in their life that clicks, that works, and they can function even better because they're having a child. But do it too early. Do when you're not ready. Then you get it wrong.
And obviously, readiness is different for everybody. You know, because I've had past experiences, and I don't want to mention names, but where, you know, meant physical readiness. You know, there's like, you know, I've heard women say, you know, I want to have my kids before I'm 30 because then my body breaks down. Well, are you mentally ready to raise those kids, that many kids before, or are you financially, physically stable?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like just because you want to have the kid doesn't mean you should.
Precisely.
Just because you have the instinct, that still doesn't mean you should. Because although nature may be telling you your body's ready and you're ready to give this nurturing love, if you can't physically support
Precisely.
it, then your nurturing love's going to turn to shit.
Precisely.
Because you're not going to have the time, you know, the stability to support yourself emotionally in order for the nurturing love to truly come true.
You're correct. In fact, look at your mom. She had you when she was 35, 36.
36.
So she was over. And I heard a lot of girls that are exactly having the same problem. You came out as strong and healthy as a fucking ox. As an ox. And you're fine. Especially because we have society, which translates into I look after you, look after me, which translates into technology.
Right.
We can actually stay healthier. A person my age 50 years ago didn't look like me. I'm not saying that I'm particularly beautiful, but they will look much older because I get to do things that they didn't have a chance to. I got better food, I got better healthcare.
Better food is arguable, but
you know, but at least I had access to food. You know, my dad's age, you know, in the 50s when my dad was born, somebody my age had gone through a lot more shit than somebody my age today. If you go into the Middle Ages, by now I wouldn't have teeth, but I could go to the dentist, you know, and have this tooth taken care of. For example, I could get some antibiotics when I had pneumonia. Maybe I would have been dead otherwise. We actually can stay. Not to mention that good habits, good food, your tai chi, your things can actually make your body keep functioning. I don't remember who was that said it, but somebody argued that we're supposed to die healthy. You know, you have a certain expiration date. You're born. You get to the expiration date, and you switch off. Okay, do this and switch off. It kind of makes sense. Our bodies are machines that actually don't break down. They break down, but they can be fixed like any other machine. Change a piece, fix this, you know, put some duct tape here, and the machine can go on way past its supposed life. Our bodies function very well. We are capable of staying alive and staying healthy, by which I mean functional, for a much longer time than it used to be. So an argument like at 30 I'm old to have kids is definitely an argument that was valuable when we didn't have this technology. In this day and age, we have this technology. We can, in fact, a woman can have a kid at 35 or 40, and the kid and the mom can be perfectly healthy and have plenty of lifespan to expect a good life. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, there are people that are ready to have children when they are really young. There are people that at 18, they have their kid, and they're perfectly good moms, and they're healthy moms that grow healthy, happy children. Some people do the same thing at 45. That is personal.
right.
But you're right. But population control is based on that. Now, they tell you that we need to either abort a lot of kids. Not a lot. Maybe some, but not a lot. That is not the solution. We need to have whatever. No, it's about working on the actual person. You have so much shit to do to be ready to have a kid that you won't think about having a kid.
I mean, and realistically, how many good humans are we putting out? You know, how many, like, you know, like, actually, like, let's like, actually good, productive humans, people that actually can contribute. You know, like, how many people can you actually bump into the street and have, and obviously, there could be a lot to be said for this argument, but what if everybody had, you know, was cultured, well-spoken, was able to, you know, you could bump into the street and have an amazing experience because everybody's exploring, truly exploring, educating themselves on what they like. Yeah. So you can actually have, no matter what it is, whether it's, we're talking about carpentry or physics.
Yeah.
You know, there's two people, you know, the best carpenter in the world could talk to the best physicist in the world and they could have a hell of a time.
Yes, that is perfectly right. That is right. In fact,
So we're not, we're not
yeah.
looking down upon the kind of education, but like the pursuit of knowledge for the sake of knowledge, which is what makes the human being better. This is what really grows the human being.
Yeah.
It's, the knowledge that makes you happy, yet pursue it instead of being lazy about it.
Yes, but you're lazy about it because you're fed the wrong food, so to speak, when you're young, and that's the problem. You can have a genius coming out of anywhere. You can have the worst possible family setup you can think of, and yet come out a genius and a saint. It's possible. However, it's more likely if you're fed the proper intellectual food, which comes into education, wisdom, whatever. Uh, I read somewhere that, actually I know where I read it, but I don't remember the title of this book. And this book was analyzing several people that are considered geniuses.
Mm-hmm.
And one argument that this book had, which was very interesting, was that geniuses are born everywhere. The question is only harvesting them. How many Einsteins do you have per generation? Yay number. There is a number of potential Einsteins per generation. The question is, can you harvest them all? By creating the conditions to have the best possible average population, you are creating the conditions to harvest the most possible potential Einsteins, and also you're creating the conditions for them to be understood. You are therefore creating a higher and higher median. You're always going to have a number of fucks, you're always going to have a number of geniuses, but where is the median? And if you look now where we are now, the median is that people are completely devoid, they are thirsty, they're deserted. They have been robbed of their spiritual capacity. And so now the spiritual capacity becomes what? You have to do whatever satisfies you right here, right now, for a second. And since that doesn't work, they're going to have to do it again, and again, and again, the next thrill, the next thrill, the next thrill. There's nothing wrong with the thrill. You can like a good pair of shoes. You can like a nice piece of ass. There's nothing wrong. You can like jumping off a plane with a parachute. You can have a joint. Those are experiences, but they are not necessarily the next thrill that keeps you at the state of happiness.
Like, for Christ's sake, that cannot be what you live for.
Precisely. But if I don't give you, and actually I do everything I can to make sure you never even fathom that there is something that can keep you happy, even if you are starved, tortured, and jailed, and yet on the inside you're like, yeah, okay. There is actually, the point is that you need to be to a mental point in which you can have lost everything, including hope, and still be okay inside your mind. If you don't have that, you don't have anything. You're done.